This is one of my favorite games, Dokmus. I only got it recently, and it's actually a little bit of an old game, but it hasn't gotten a lot of attention recently. There's so many games that come out, some great games really just kind of go by the wayside, so I wanted to reintroduce it to everyone. Dokmus. Now let's take a look at what goes on in this game. First of all, you don't know who has any points until the end of the game, really, so all of this stuff is meaningless. There are these god tiles that are going to be used in the game. The god tiles give each player a power, so they're going to take a tile, and then they're going to be able to use it on their turn. But the real issue is what goes on in this game board. The issue with the game board is that it is completely mobile all throughout. For example, if I use this god, I can take this tile, and I can turn it this way. If I take this god, I can take a tile, and I can move it into a space. So the board is constantly changing as you're going along. If I take this god tile, I'll take a piece that I have on the board and then I can move it a space. What really excites me about this game is that it's really very simple. There's only a handful of things that you really need to do or really even want to do in the game. You want to get your pieces, we'll call them tents, next to as many different of these temples that you can. Red temples are 2, yellow temples are 3. If you discover a temple on, or every temple on a single land mass, you get additional points. So if discovering means that you're next to something, so you can never be actually on it. And you can move in a lot of different ways. You can place a piece next to a previous piece. You can place a piece on a forest area. But if you're on a forest area and you don't have someone next to you on a forest area that's your color, well, you're going to have to take one of your pieces and it gets sacrificed. Sacrifice is actually not a bad thing because in the end of the game, whoever sacrificed the most is the winner. Or not the winner, but they win that little portion of the game. So if you have a piece on a forest, you're going to have to sacrifice one of your pieces. It goes to this sacrifice area. At the end of the game, whoever has the most in the sacrifice area will gain additional points. So sacrificing is not bad. But getting back to this board, if I go on a forest and I don't have a piece already on the forest next to it, that's when I sacrifice. But if I already have a piece on the forest and I go next to it, then that's okay. So you're going to be trying to get around on the board and go around. You're going to be switching things around, getting across areas to another. If you're next to one of these temples, that means that everything adjacent is also your area. So you go here, but the issue is that other people are going to be doing the same thing. You might not be able to go to a place. You might have these blue guys that are invading, and so, well, you might use a tile, get them out of your area, or maybe get a new way to get in. You also have this water spaces. So let's say you're over here, and you want to get across the water. You can just go across the water. The issue is, if you go across the water, guess what? You got to sacrifice a guy. So you're going to be losing guys, and you're going to be trying to get next to all these temples. You get points if you go next to every temple, at least one temple in every space. You get extra points for going next to every temple in one area. You also get points to going on these ruin areas. If you get on a ruin, notice it has these little 5 dots there. That means you get to get an extra god movement on your turn. So for example, if I use this god, I can take a piece and move it, slide it over one thing. But you could only do it if you're on here. You can only do it on the tile that you're on. Whereas if you use the actual god, then you could do it on any tile. So it gets kind of complicated. There's a lot of things that you could think about. And there's going to be guys everywhere. There's going to be green guys that are going to be your enemies. There's going to be blue guys that are your enemies. And it goes on and on and on like this. And it gets more intense because at the end, you have to eke out every little point. You're trying to be as economical as humanly possible on your movements. You know that you're going to sacrifice things. If you're not willing to sacrifice, don't even play this game because you are going to be sacrificing pieces. There's going to be tons of pieces in here at the end of the game. The gods are also going to be used as all sorts of different things. You're going to be going across water. You're going to be trying to go next to that. If you end up on a volcano, volcanoes are good because volcanoes allow you to get from one, I should use the same color. You go from one volcano, and now I can get into this space. So then I can be over here, but at the end of my turn, guess what happens to the guy on the volcano? He gets sacrificed. So constant sacrifice is part of the game. The only thing that you can never do is go on a mountain. Mountains are like walls. They're blockades. You can't go against a mountain. That's a mountain right there. We got these forest spaces, which may or may not make you sacrifice. You have the water, which allows you to go across. You only have, on your turn, you only have 3 pieces. You only have 3 pieces to use. So you might move a space, do a god action, then put another piece down, and then you might have to sacrifice one. So you got very little to do every single turn. But you don't have to, I think one of the big things is that you don't have to stay in the same place. Because on your turn, let's say you have 3 pieces, and I have a piece over here. I can put one there. I could put one here, and then if I had one over here, I could do one here. So you're actually trying to control this army of tents in different ways. And it becomes really exciting and intense because you can see what the other player is trying to do, and you're hoping not that they don't take the same god as you do because then you don't have it. And then you're hoping also that they don't rotate something away from where you want. And also when you choose a god tile, that means the order in which you go on the turn. So if you choose number 1, which just gets you the first player, then you go first. If you choose number 4 because you really want to rotate this one of your tiles, you have to wait until you go 4th in the turn, which means that someone might have totally messed up what you wanted to do, because what if they did this and then they took this whole tile and moved it down here, and that was the tile you wanted to rotate, so now it doesn't make sense, so now you have to do something with it, or you just don't use the god at all. But that's the interesting part of Dokmus. It's actually a very tactical game with a lot of deep thinking on every move because you're so limited, but yet so expansive in the areas. This is a great game. Dokmus. Dokmus. Dokmus.